What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday. Big show. Zach's back, and hopefully the heat is fixed. From what you're currently wearing, it looks like you're probably more comfortable than you were yesterday. And we're going to continue to react to the Mike Borgonzi hire for the Titans general manager job. And the power structure has already shifted. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. We're going to dive more into the power structure change from 1 week to the next when it comes to the Titans' roles of general manager and president of football operations, Chad Brinker. So going to have an interesting conversation here. Still awaiting the press conference timeline for Mike Borgonzi as that is evolving and fluid. The Titans also made a pretty large staff change, but doesn't really make anything more clear as far as other staff changes around Brian Callahan's coaching staff going into year 2 with the Titans. And it's a Tuesday, which means throwing shade. And I have shade to be thrown at the college football landscape as a whole, not about the game last night, but as a whole. And so maybe we'll have a little extended shade segment here, Zach. But welcome in. Glad you're more comfortable than yesterday.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That will be one of 2 shades that I have, as it was 55 degrees in my house yesterday. So it's no longer 55 degrees. So the problem is fixed, which is positive, and that means that we're on the show. Also, I did see, and look, you got to give them their flowers when they earn them. Whatever that means. Big Ten Jeff, first comment I saw as a Ohio State faithful.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably pretty good morning for old Big Ten Jeff. Been watching the show for a long time, so credit where credit is due there. A lot to get to, a lot to unpack. GMs hired, national championships won, coaches hired around the league as well. So we'll dive into that. Big show on the horizon on a Tuesday. Plus, I like doing Tuesday shows because of shade. I got a lot of shade in my life just in general when people not doing what they need to do. And we also got a redemption shade at the end. So we'll talk about it. Got plenty of time. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So keep us locked in right there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link, those YouTube links on our show on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports /X, whatever you want to call it, at A to Z Sports. If you're an NFL fan, as we meander through the NFL playoffs and the AFC and NFC championship game, the Super Bowl, A to Z Sports NFL. You can keep us locked in and follow us on X/Twitter there. YouTube, 3 things you got to do. First, subscribe. Go to YouTube, A to Z Sports Nashville, subscribe to our channel. Second, like this show. It helps the algorithm. It helps more fans get involved. Maybe they're KC fans that are wishing their former assistant GM good luck. Maybe it's just people. Maybe it's like Big Ten Jeff just trying to get, Ohio State comments in the chat. Who knows? I don't know. But like the show, it helps the algorithm and it helps this channel. And then last but not least, make sure you ring the bell. Live alerts are on. So when we go live in the morning or prime time or anytime, that you will get notified. I will say this, you're going to want to do that here in the next week or so. So you're going to make sure you want live alerts on. That's a hint for anybody that can't get hints. So live alerts on, subscribe. Things are around the bend, as they say. Facebook, what's going on Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen, share not a public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. Share the show around so we can pop up in your Facebook friends newsfeed. Let's get this party started on a Tuesday.
Let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network. Going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Links to the show on Twitter, X timeline. That's at A to Z Sports. You can also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. We'll also drop that 5-star Google review in when you want. And one's
the Louis 5-star special, baby.
That's right. But do got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. by going to our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. T-Dot, keeping our state beautiful, nobody trashes Tennessee.com, and our new friends at the Bart Durham Injury Law Group. A crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. So we do have some early super chats to get out of the way, and we can just go ahead and do this because Big Ten Jeff, national champs, baby. Happy for Coach Ryan Day. Yes, happy for Coach Ryan Day there. Look, that's
not what you were saying a few weeks ago, bud.
Who, me or
no? Just like in general, Ohio State.
No, I mean that's what I was about to say. Ryan Day almost did the Ryan Day thing and allowed that third 11 changed everything. To change everything right last night. And we'll talk more about college football playoff later, as I have. It's not perfect. It needs to be adjusted in a couple different ways, and we'll dive deeper into that. King VC also says, lock in, like the show, give that 5-star Google review. Zach, it has been a bit since you've been on the show because of your heating situation yesterday. So you were a day late, but I'm glad that's fixed. But Mike Borgonzi is officially the hire of the GM for the Titans. We learned that on Friday. I see we have comments asking us if we know when the press conference is going to be. There was a thought that we're going to try to get it done today on Tuesday. That's obviously not happening because nothing's out there. So we're still waiting official word on what day the press conference will be this week. But we'll have that for you guys when we do know. But Zach, we learned a lot over the weekend. We talked about it throughout the morning show yesterday with Sam about our report of Mike Borgonzi seen as the best overall candidate, and Chad Brinker was very conscious about not making this a buddy hire and just bringing in his friend and longtime colleague in Green Bay for 13 years of John Eric Sullivan, but going to Mike Borgonzi, the Chiefs. So I will toss the floor to you and let you react and give your overall thoughts now that you've had a couple of days to think over the Mike Borgonzi move as well.
Well, look, in any hiring situation ever, it should come down to one thing. Who's the best individual for the job? Yeah. It's not anything else. Who is the best individual for the job? It's not if you're friends. It's not any of that. It is who is the best person for the job that they are applying for. And the Titans, at least in their opinion, they thought that Mike Borgonzi was the best hire. And I think in the back end of kind of what we found out more about him, because these candidates, there's coaching cycles, there's hiring of GM cycles, assistant coach hiring cycles, right? And each year, new names get floated out. And, one thing that I think that I looked at was how long he has been with one organization. Now, be it the most successful organization in recent history, you got the Patriots, you got the Chiefs. There are two franchises that have dominated.
I would throw the Packers and Steelers into that.
Well,
and
dominated.
The Ravens.
I mean, what actually you have? No, but top two. Your top two are the Patriots and the Chiefs. Those are the second tier teams. Now,
I don't think
this is a good tier.
I think yes, but I think the Patriots are not out of that because they lost the two people that ran the whole show.
But I'm going back to 2009 when he started 15 years ago with the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you look at that test of the amount of Super Bowl wins and opportunities, Super Bowl appearances
since 2009,
I put the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously with the success of Patrick Mahomes and their organization, and Tom Brady. The two catalysts of that is a really, 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 really great quarterback, right?
Hall of Fame, elite of Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah, and everybody in football knows that's usually how you have sustained success. But he finally, he's leaving the nest. That's a long time at one nest, and it's a really good nest. And, I think the other thing that I saw as I did a little bit more research on him and just some of the pundits around the news media saying, what type of person he is, what type of guy. Talked to Kansas City Chiefs people in the know. Mm-hmm. They were, just like anything, he has a good reputation. Good reputation when you leave to go to a new place. The congratulations when he left, it was earned, it was deserved. These are all good things that you want to hear. Now, the rubber meets the road when the wins and losses come and the roster structure happens. But I loved one of the things, and it was, I don't know if it was I think this is actually directly how it is. Hard worker. That was how he was described when he was hired, or at least the deal was getting done. And that's another thing of what all we've talked about of this power struggle that we'll dive into today, of how hard of a worker was Rand. Rand had plenty of opportunities on that. I don't even want to go back to the interview that was had of what kind of wasn't said, but that was some of the things in the rumor mill of why Rand is no longer here, right? But hard worker was the number one thing when Borgonzi was officially introduced.
Yep.
We'll find out more about him in the press conference. But overall, if you can't beat the best, be the best, hire the best. Doesn't always work. You can't go New England South. We've tried that, or the Titans have tried that, and that worked for a period of time. But I do like the overall thought process in this hire.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The two guys that are running the Titans organization are old school. Like, one's an undrafted free agent running back who holds a degree from Northwestern, a grad school MBA from Northwestern. And Mike Borgonzi is a former fullback at Brown. So you have an Ivy League fullback and an MBA from Northwestern running things. The smart people that played football and had to work their way to the highest level, because I don't exactly think Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker are the most talented backs in the world, but they made the most out of whatever they had, right? So it seems like
smart, hardworking individuals succeed. I mean, I think you can. Smart, hardworking individuals succeed. You got to be smart to go to Brown, and if you work hard, the cream will rise to the top.
I think Toff says fullbacks are smart. I think
at Brown,
they are. Yeah. At Brown, they're smart. Fullbacks in the SEC, questionable. I will say Jocelyn Fowler was very savvy. In the few conversations I had with former Alabama, former Titans fullback Jocelyn Fowler, he was very savvy when it came to sun protection and heat control at training camp. Because he had a little trick that I still use today, actually.
But this isn't your Midwest meat market fullback that just drinks, cold beer and cornbread and goes out there and works. Like, this is you got to pass the test.
This isn't the fullback that purposely slams his helmet in his face running out of the tunnel just to get some blood going before the game starts. Okay, let's continue to learn more about this role. And, I'm going to show this graphic that we talked through yesterday from Albert Breer on some of his reporting. So how they go down, it started the existing relationship with Brinker and Borgonzi. Both came to the NFL in 2009, got to know each other on the road where scouts do. More recently, the trust they share, they're both the point men on trades involving L'Jarius Sneed and DeAndre Hopkins between the Titans and Chiefs over the last 12 months. And so that was the foundation of which Borgonzi's case was being built as he started to win the interview. The Titans came in to view him as the most complete candidate, both in his experience and how he could articulate a clear plan for the franchise. And that one showed legitimacy prepared for everything, be it in coaching, scouting, player development, sports science, analytics, whatever came his way, he was ready. And this is, I think, the biggest thing, because, Zach, you just talked a lot about the Chiefs since 2009 being one of the most sustained, successful franchises in the league. It was in a small decision-making circle in KC with GM Brett Veach, Coach Andy Reid, and Senior VP of Football Operations and Strategy Chris Shea. So every decision made over the past 8 seasons in Kansas City had his fingerprints on it. Now, 8 seasons is an interesting timeline because that's the Patrick Mahomes era. It's almost like you can always pick the most convenient time to start the stat, right? Of in 5 of the last 6 games, Will Levis was really good. Yeah, but the 3 games before that, he was total ass. So if it's 5 of the last 9, it's not as good. But if you make it how you want it to, fingerprints on the last 8 seasons sounds like it's fantastic and great, right? So that is the Borgonzi thing. And something that I thought of after yesterday morning show, Zach, of what Breer said of he started to win the interview, right? I actually thought about that later on because of what we talked about and what we reported on Saturday is that John Eric Sullivan left his interview with the Titans in person did not think it was his job. John Eric Sullivan was in-person interview 6 out of 6. Mike Borgonzi was on the middle day. He was either 3 or 4. And so I think that tells you that Mike Borgonzi altered the way the Titans felt when they talked to John Eric Sullivan. That lines up to me is that John Eric Sullivan goes in there, thinks he has a good shot because of his relationship with Rand. Rand conscious about being a buddy hire guy that we talked about all day Friday, but left because Mike Borgonzi started to win the interview process earlier in the week. So usually it's like, do you want to be the last interview, the first interview, first impression, lasting impression? The middle impression ended up being the guy that won the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's speed dating, right? And
Yeah.
how you feel, how you wake up. Do you have a cold? Like, what's your emotion? What's your energy? Did you have a cup of coffee before the interview? I mean, there are so many different things that come into play. I still think if you can interview well and you are your true self, you will win the job. That's why, I mean, we've interviewed a lot of people. I've interviewed tons of people that I knew the second that they got on the Zoom, Bud, this is going to be the last time I ever talk to you. Like, you have those, but you also have, man, I really liked that person. Mm-hmm. And then you go and you have another interview and you say, actually, this guy's actually better. And then you have a third one and you're like, that was awful. That's not good. And then you have another. So like you are on this really roller coaster if you have 6 different people that you are speed dating. But I do think the impact of working together, as we now know that Brinker was kind of the front man, not Rand, in the deals that were done. Now, look, you could criticize the Snead deal now looking at what the Chiefs are actually picking with that pick. But Snead, there's plenty of opportunity for that deal to come to fruition and actually be good or great. But working together is very valuable in recent history and then going into a job that you're applying for. I think that was huge because, there is no networking nepotism, as they say. It's not full, family, but the connection of Green Bay, buddy hires are real. That's a part of the NFL. We saw that with Vrabel. You see that all over.
It's a part of everything,
the league,
the world.
But it sounds like Mike Borgonzi won this job based on his actions in the conversations. Amy Adams Strunk also hired this guy because she's going to be the one that probably fires this guy eventually, whatever that is, right? So like it's not just a singular decision maker. There's a lot of people in the room, but I like the fact that clear-cut winner made the decision and well-respected on the back end.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to get to the change because the title of the show, Mike Borgonzi's hire, has already shifted the Titans executive structure per a report. So we'll get to that update here in a second. But first, I want to tell you guys about our new friends. That is the Bart Durham Injury Law Group. A crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away at BartDurham.com. Your big truck wreck is Bart Durham's fight for justice. And you can reach the Bart Durham team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. Their phone number is so easy. 615, original Nashville area code. 242-9000. That's 615-242-9000. You deserve to be paid for what you go through with your experience in any type of accident, including the big truck wreck. Attorneys are always available to meet with you, whatever is most convenient for you, including virtual meetings. You can go to BartDurham.com. Like I mentioned, their contact or live chat is always available 24/7. They've also got current news and blogs. So when there's inclement weather around, how do you drive through the snow, through the ice? What's the difference in spotting snow versus ice? How do you work around big trucks and semis on the interstates for your own safety, which is a great tool for maybe the new drivers that are coming up this year as well. They've been in business since 1975. Bart Durham, the OG, passed away back in April, but his son Blair, a Marine veteran and a Nashville native, is doing a fantastic job, not just with Bart Durham Injury Law, but around the community as well, with his hands all over great organizations and making sure that Nashvillians and people in Tennessee get the best coverage and help they can. Check them out online. Once again, BartDurham.com.
A to Z Sports are powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code A to Z Sports, ATOZSPORTS. I had a good play last night with the over, and I bought some points plus 14.5 for Notre Dame. That ended up working out in my favor for that mini parlay. Got to buy those points, baby. And it worked out. So king of the sports, or they are the sportsbook born in Vegas. They are the king in that sense. They're in Tennessee. Make sure you sign up. When you do sign up, use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so Sam and I talked, we kind of discovered this live on the show yesterday when we were going through it, but the job responsibilities of Mike Borgonzi's slot within the organization has shifted since the firing of Rand Carthon, because this was the original quote from President and CEO of the Tennessee Titans, Burke Nihill, to Jim Wyatt on the Titans official website after Rand Carthon was fired. And this was really about Chad Brinker. Quote, "It is important to Amy to have absolute clarity in the football organization. And so while the general manager position will have a primary responsibility on all things, Chad is describing in terms of the day-to-day of overseeing the roster and the coaching staff. Chad is the leader of the football program. So Chad will be the final authority on all football matters, including the roster," right? The final authority on all football matters, including the roster. That raised actual red flags around the NFL, because as the Titans sent out interview requests to Mike Borgonzi for the Chiefs, to Ed Dodds in Indianapolis, to anybody who had the assistant GM title in Cunningham with the Bears, those franchises had to allow that person to interview for a job promotion. But initially, it sounded like the GM is more like an assistant GM. And so the Chiefs, the Bears, and the Colts, those teams in those situations, could deny the interview requests if it was deemed a lateral move by the NFL. Now, the NFL came back and said, no, it is actually a GM role, which conflicts what Burke Nihill told Jim Wyatt on the team site. And then you have this yesterday. This is from Albert Breer of SI again. And I'm going to start on the right side of this graphic first. The structure intentionally is a little different than what most NFL teams employ, or a lot different. Callahan reports to Borgonzi. Borgonzi reports to Brinker in a setup that mirrors what you see in other sports. Borgonzi will oversee coaching, scouting, sports medicine, sports performance, and player development, and have final say on the roster. The idea generally is to allow Borgonzi to focus on building the team and the football operation and take some of the other new age elements off his plate. So you've got final say on the roster and final authority on all football matters, including the roster. Those are very much conflicting. There's about 10 to 12 days between those two sentences of publication, Zach. So I will let you kind of give your initial thoughts, as I caught some eye rolls throughout some of that.
It's a product of dysfunction. It's not being organized. This is the clear issue. And it's stupid, to be honest. It's dysfunction from the top, because what they did is they wanted to over-clarify why they were firing Rand and actually what was happening. They weren't selling us that, us being the public. They weren't selling that. They were saying Rand was in charge. He was the face. But really, Brinker was the guy on the phone. He was the guy talking to these general managers doing deals. What was Rand doing? So, you know what we need to do? We need to clarify for everyone. We'll do it on our own website, and Jim Wyatt will release it, and it will say this. Womp, womp. But then, oh, wait, we've got to hire a GM. So when we go out to hire a GM, now we're going to confuse everyone. And what is this power struggle or shift? And then we'll explain it to them in the interview. We'll kind of tell them the setup. It's not going to be Brinker. It actually, you're going to be the final say on the roster. It doesn't make any sense. So what is it? Like, do you believe Albert Breer, the reporter, or do you believe the franchise?
I believed at the time, both Burke Nihill was saying what he believed to be true, and Albert Breer is reporting what he believes to be true. I think
he believed to be true. Burke Nihill's in the building. He can knock on the door and ask.
I know.
Amy, what's going? I mean, they had to have had a meeting in the conference room. Like they had to have talked about this. This is ridiculous.
Look, I think if they, I think I agree with you. The over clarification of clarity that they wanted
was because they did a bad job with their previous employees.
Yeah, it made them adjust. And so I think they had to do a little bit of like mop up duty to be able to have this be a real GM job so they can go hire who they wanted to interview.
Mop up duty. They literally got a carton of milk and just poured it out on their own floor in front of everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Because this was a mistake. I don't think it was a lie. I think it was a mistake because I think the intention was to clarify, but it was a mistake.
Isn't that the product of this franchise?
Sure.
How many mistakes? Why are they picking number 1 overall? It's because of a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, because they had the most turnover mistakes in the NFL this past year. So look, again,
but this you have to pause. This is before Rand was fired. This was before anything happened. You can get ahead of this. This is easy. This is like business sense. It's logic. It's perception. It's PR, public relations. This is like, don't put your foot in your mouth. You don't have to do that.
Agreed.
You control the narrative. You're the franchise. You're the one that's going to have this job open up because you're going to fire the GM or whatever the hell you want to call, or you wanted to call Rand Carthon. And then you're going to position and say, well, we already have a guy that basically is the GM because he has all the final say. And then you're going to go and interview a bunch of candidates and tell them, actually, no, our president and CEO didn't know what was going on.
I'm not saying he didn't know. And somebody said that, so you think the blowback made them alter and change, Curtis. So the pushback made them change their mind. Look, I don't know this for sure, but I think that there's something to that comment from Curtis.
Well, it's stupid. Just don't say anything.
I agree. I'm with you.
Don't say a GD word because
100%.
You're about to go try to hire a guy that wants control of the roster, and you're going to have to talk through that in the interview.
Yeah, you can say all these things like the general manager will have primary responsibility in all things Chad is describing in terms of day-to-day overseeing the roster of the coaching staff. Chad is the leader of the football program and will lead this search to find our new general manager. End of quote. That's what it should have been. There was no need. I agree with you. I'm with you. There was no need for Burt Nihill to say to anybody publicly that Chad Brinker was going to have final say in the roster because I'm with you, putting your foot in your mouth. Don't say something. Don't make a decision before you know if that's the right decision or not.
It's not like you're answering press conference questions.
No,
you literally, they put it out there. I think that's my issue. It's like, guys, don't stop. This is stupid. So I was frustrated with the back and forth of that. Will it be fine on the other side? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, what actually is happening? The press conference, that will be a question that is asked.
100%.
And I hope it is positioned. Your president and CEO released a statement that Chad Brinker is going to have final say on the roster. Is that the case?
Yeah,
that is how I want it to be positioned. I want them to forcefully say, well, things have changed. Actually,
I don't think Sam Phelan has been more excited for a press conference in his entire life because the type of frustration, somebody commented that said Sam and Zach with a handshake emoji, because you guys, same energy on this, just beyond frustrated. I think I'm almost maybe numb to the dumbness of what that mistake was to where it doesn't piss me off as much as you guys. But Sam is so wound up to figure out what the hell that was about.
Well, and this goes into our question because I think the frustration is stemmed, and fans should be frustrated too. You're the worst team in the NFL. You got the number 1 overall pick. It's a desired job, right? It's like the Bears were a desired job because they got Caleb Williams and offense, right? Or supposedly they think. But it's a wanted job. Now you have a complete franchise altering shift in the last 2.5 weeks, and you make these type of mistakes that are just easily undone to not do, right?
Yeah. Like
that I think is this is serious. This is the future of your franchise. These are the decision makers. You're not hiring. It's not the special teams coordinator that we're going to talk about here later. That's not it.
You know what it is? This is an unforced error. You know how you have like the Notre Dame guy punched the ball out of Ibuka's arms. That was a defensive forced turnover. This is an unforced error. Nobody was saying you had to say anything about it at that time, yet you threw it right to the defender who ran it back for a pick six.
Roughing the passer penalty last night, or unnecessary roughness on Notre Dame on 2nd and 8, when you're trying so hard to get the ball back and you just give them 15 yards.
You dribbled it off your foot and the defender was not even pressuring you. That's exactly what this was. But
that I think is that's a mistake, an unknowing mistake. This is like knowing what you're doing. That's my problem. It's like, you know what you're putting out there. Everybody, you have the first word because you release this before any reporter gets to it.
Agree. So let's ask this question, because the mistake was made, right? Like that they confused people unnecessarily and there was no need to do that. But now they've got this hire made, and so they have this structure down. And so I want to ask this question, and I'm going to put up a YouTube poll here in a moment, so we can get some extra data on this. Are you for or against the Titans' new structure of Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi sharing these executive roles? So just to go over this again, on the right side of this graphic, you've got Borgonzi will oversee coaching, scouting, sports medicine, sports performance, and player development, and have final say on the roster. The idea is to allow Borgonzi to focus on building the team in football operations and take some of the newer age elements of the job off his plate. So Mike Borgonzi is worried about building the roster, free agent evaluation, draft evaluation, and coaching staff evaluation too, while Borgonzi gets to set the salary cap budget, what they want to spend on this position, and then also, do they have the right, logistical setup for their travel, for other things inside the building? Do they have the right equipment they need? All these non-football things that assist the football things is what Chad Brinker is involved with, where Borgonzi's doing just football. So they're taking what we used to know as the GM role and splitting it into two manager jobs. Big picture and day-to-day.
Yeah, but, Brinker was doing football stuff. He was doing more football operation or phone calls and trades.
No, I know. But like Zach, I don't. He was because that was, again, point person. Like, so Brett Veach was also not the Chiefs' point person for the Snead and D-Hop trade with the Titans, right? Because Borgonzi and Brinker had the relationship, right? So if we have those type of situations where you're the point person for something and I'm the point person for something because of the relationship we have, it doesn't mean anything else other than that's the best.
But if you look at the timeline, when Chad Brinker was hired, he was the assistant general manager. And then all of a sudden he became the general manager.
No, he became the vice president of football operations.
Basically, he was under and then he was over.
Yes. They gave Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon promotions last spring, but Brinker got 2 promotion leaps and Rand got 1.
That's a side of dysfunction.
Okay, so let's ask the question now. Are you for or against the Titans' new structure of Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi sharing executive roles? Are you for or against the Titans' new structure of Brinker and Borgonzi sharing executive roles? Zach, I just put the YouTube poll out. I will let you tell everybody about our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. Health, dental, and vision. They've got 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. They've been in business for over 75 years. We love Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been a sponsor for a number of years. They are good partners with the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, the Tennessee Titans, and companies, businesses, and individuals all across the state of Tennessee. If you are in the state of Tennessee, get a quote. And how you get a quote is you take a quick health assessment. You go through some questioning. It's not that big of a deal. 24 to 48 hours afterwards, they give you a quote, and then you decide. It's free to get a quote, and it may be better than your current health coverage. You can do it for you as an individual, because I know the landscape has changed and is ever changing. You can have it for your family. If you've got a husband and kids, a wife and kids, does not matter. That your family, they have family plans there. Business, they do it all, which is great. Call and see and find out what all they do at Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
All right, BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Had somebody message me to watch the show yesterday. Hey, sign up with BetMGM using that bonus code ATOZ Sports. You get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses as a new user. Zach, you said you hit your little parlay there last night. I already set myself up to profit off of who wins the college football playoff future bets with doubling down on Ohio State in the first quarter of the Oregon game. Of like, just yes, as long as they're plus money, I got it, and use some boost tokens. Then in the second half of Notre Dame and Penn State, I went big. Notre Dame plus 500 to win the title. So I was good either way. But man, I had a Notre Dame plus 9.5 last night that would have had me win double. But Will Howard hit Jeremiah Smith on 3rd and 11, and it ruined everything for me. I almost won twice, but that's okay. But I still won
a better game. I think that was the hard part. Is like we wanted Notre Dame down 8 to get the ball and see what they can do. It's an uphill climb, but it was like the Ravens and the Bills. You're down 8. Let's see what you can do. They score. They don't get the 2-point conversion, right? So like we wanted to see that, but a great player made a great play and a good throw, and the outcome was what it was.
And there's good reporting on the play call that went into that between Chip Kelly, Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, and Ryan Day on that. A2Zsports.com for that. So are you for or against the Titans' new executive structure for Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi to share those roles? For or against? So Borgonzi is football, the roster, the coaching staff, development players, scouting, and evaluating talent. And Brinker is the non-football things that assist the football things. What are you seeing from the chat for or against this shared executive roles from Brinker and Borgonzi?
Yeah, Louis says 4 against, I guess, from IR, 4 from Cost. They're 4. Mavens 4. Big Ten Jeff against. Let the GM be the damn GM. And I think that's where some people come from in that instance. Against from Elton, 4 from Richie, all the way. 4 against, it's too complicated from Eric. 4 from Titans Kyle. Against from Trevor. 4 from Raz. Vehemently against from Trevor. No mention of who is running the draft. Kind of waiting for the press conference, right? So those questions probably will get brought up and hopefully answered. Probably not by Amy, but by Brinker and Borgonzi and Callahan. And that kind of leads me into what I think. Okay. Pistol says against. Darren says against. All 4. Brent says against. Rooney says against. So here's where I stand. And I think this is unfortunate. But based on history, I have to be against because the franchise has not shown that they know what they're doing. Like, yes, it's a restructure. Can it be better than the previous structure? Well, maybe, because the previous structure didn't work, but the same thing happened before. The previous structure of the previous structure didn't work, right? It's a cycle. There's no sustainability for periods of time. Even when John Robinson had his good years of drafting, he followed him up with the worst years maybe in sport of drafting. So like And I think there was a struggle there because that came back to AJ Brown's trade of a struggle of, does Vrabel have power? No, John Robinson has power. John Robinson leaves, then Vrabel has power. Then Vrabel has too much power, so they bring other in. And then Brinker doesn't have enough power, and then he has more power than Rand. So this is a cycle. And this is, I mean, you're now putting more cooks into the kitchen, and we kind of saw how the politics played out over the last couple of years through the restructuring of what Amy Adams Strunk was trying to do. So I have to be against, because I mean, the traditional solution is a pretty clear-cut structure. You have a GM who is the boss that has assistants under him that actually goes and does the different types of work. And then you have the coach that coaches the players, right? Like, but now you have, and notoriously the Titans, football operations, GM, but then they had an assistant GM, and then they had a coach, and then who makes the coaching? They've got to answer a lot of questions for me to be for. And so maybe to their, I don't want to say credit, but just to how it's shaken out, they haven't answered those questions for them.
You don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt until you hear them answer any questions.
Well, the benefit of the doubt is earned, not given.
Exactly. And so I understand where you're at with that. And anybody who is against this, I'm not hating on it. I don't disagree with your emotions or your feelings about that because you doubt the people that are setting it up. But I think this is the right way to set up a NFL franchise in today's NFL, because the job of general manager has gotten more complicated. It's gotten more spread out, and it is no longer a football job by itself. It is a football job, a management job, a organizational job, all these different responsibilities that have nothing to do with football go into play with this. And colleges have been actually more ahead of this than the NFL has in a weird spot. I'll just, real quick story. Back when I was in college, Derek Dooley was the head coach of Tennessee football. Derek Dooley was a terrible head coach, but he was a really good administrator. And he was really good at probably what Chad Brinker's role is going to be. Derek Dooley was instrumental in the design and organization of the build of the football facility that Tennessee uses today. Why? Because his brain thought that way. He understood flow and different benefits of being resourceful with your time and all efficient, all of this. But the football coach should not be worrying about the efficiency and the flow of the weight room and the football facility and the training room. He should be worried about recruiting, X's and O's, scheme, coaching technique. Mike Borgonzi does not need to be worried about the weight room equipment, if they need to upgrade, what the budget is on that, all of this stuff. Mike Borgonzi needs to be evaluating the free agent talent, evaluating the current roster, evaluating the expiring contracts, and working with the scouting staff on the draft class. That Mike Borgonzi needs to be worrying about how to make this a better football roster and a better coaching staff and a better football team with Brian Callahan and his staff and the scouting team. Chad Brinker can do all that other stuff because they have a lot of work to do on the football field. And I don't want Mike Borgonzi or whoever the GM is worried about non-football things. So that is why I'm for it. Can it be executed? That's what we don't know, because egos can get involved, and egos would be why this would not work in the long run.
That's my worry, Austin. You just had Brinker do all of the football stuff because Rand wasn't doing not all, but a lot of more of the football stuff than he was originally hired to do. So Brinker has shown that he can do that, is willing to do that, and probably thinks that he's good at it, right?
And so I think
that's right. My worry is that at some point, if things don't go well, they don't pick the right quarterback or the players aren't right, Brinker is then going to say, I can do it better than you can. That's my worry.
So that's a fair worry. And look, my oversimplified take on, I haven't told you this, I don't think. I've mentioned this on the show a couple times, is I believe Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon wanted the same type of executive role, and Chad Brinker was just better than Rand. Not that Chad Brinker's good, but he was just better than Rand at that role. And then they wanted to go find somebody to better execute the role that Rand Carthon was supposed to be in, and that is now Mike Borgonzi. And so I think what you just said is Chad Brinker might think he's better than Borgonzi if it doesn't go well and fire him. I think the reporting that we did over the weekend on our website makes this something where we can have the record set and draw that line in the sand and hold them accountable. All of us on the show, you guys in the fan base, can hold the Titans accountable for this. Chad Brinker made the choice to hire Borgonzi. Brinker wanted to keep an open mind and not be a buddy hire guy, right? So that is the important thing. Brinker hired Borgonzi. So if Borgonzi is not good, that is on Chad Brinker just as much as it is on Borgonzi. So if Amy Adams Strunk or Bert Nihill made the Borgonzi hire, which was a question that we had Friday afternoon, then Chad Brinker could also have an out because, hey, Amy, you wanted Borgonzi. I wanted Sullivan from Green Bay. But now Brinker has no out. If Borgonzi fails, Brinker fails. And we have to hold them accountable to that as much as we possibly can.
But Austin, probably how this is going to happen is there's a fall guy. And now who's more likely to be the fall guy? Borgonzi, I think, is more likely to be the fall. Well, Callahan knows the role, right? Like head coaches is different than executives. So I think we can all be on the same page about Callahan. He's got to win or he's out. He's going to get replaced. Like his back is against the wall. His higher ups, his bosses have changed. That's never good, right? Unless you win and you build those relationships. But he's got a head coaching position. Do what you can with it and see how the cards play out. My thing is, how big is Chad Brinker's ego? That is going to decide the problems that could arise.
Okay. All right. So I'm
on the record. I stand by that.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I think after the Mike Borgonzi intro press conference, in which we will hear from Chad Brinker, I don't think we will hear from Chad Brinker again until like the head coach gets fired. I think Chad Brinker is going to
matter about what they can't even speak to us correctly. It doesn't matter how they speak to us or if he's seen. That's the whole point of Rand. Brinker was running the company and the Titans were showing off Rand that he was the guy.
Yeah, but Rand wasn't talking.
Perception is not reality with this franchise.
Look,
sometimes it is.
But Rand was not talking. Rand was not talking. I think, and from what I've heard, Rand would have talked more if he had the green light. But I mean, it's no secret that Rand talked for he talked like 4 times throughout his 2 years, and then 6 days after he was fired, he went on live radio. Like I think Rand
was a personal PR stunt.
I'm not saying it was handled. I'm not saying it was a good or quality or substantive or whatever. I think Rand would have talked more if he had the green light. I don't think he had the green light. By who? I don't know. I don't think Brinker's ego is going to be the downfall of this, because you said who's the fall guy from the front office. I think if it doesn't work out, then both Brinker and Borgonzi have to go together, because they should be tied together, is my thought. Callahan can be separate, not tied with those other two. But I think Brinker and Borgonzi must be tied together. I think they are a package deal. One hired the other. So if you're going to fire one, you fire the other.
Right. But history shows us that's not how this organization works.
I understand. But
literally, like anything that you think of the structure of the Tennessee Titans organization has always kind of came around and been, I don't want to say, I'm not saying you individually, but has been wrong because they fired their coach and not their GM. They fired their GM and not their head coach. They've gone an interim route and then fired him and then elevated. They've elevated an assistant GM to be president of operations, then fired the GM.
Hey, you can go back further. You can, Floyd Reith lost the power struggle to Jeff Fisher back in the day.
Right?
And so, look, I
mean, all of everything that we've just said was true, which is wild.
So, but again, I think this is a good structure. You have to have the people that can work together. And that's why it is very important that Chad Brinker was the one who made the decision to hire Borgonzi, because that is the only way it can succeed.
I want to talk about Mike Borgonzi. I want 3 minutes or whatever to talk about what I am most excited about the possibility of.
Okay. I will let you have your 3 minutes for that time, but I'll tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury happens in life, just like it can in football and other sports, you need the people you can trust and fall back on to help you get through that injury. And the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin has everything. They've got the best doctors, physicians, surgeons, surgery equipment, resources, rehab facilities, support staff, everything right there in Franklin off of I-65 and Highway 96, right next to Williamson Medical Center, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Don't forget to download the BetMGM app today. Bonus code ATOZ Sports. You got NFC, AFC championship game on the horizon. You got the NBA. I had a great parlay, 4-leg parlay that hit yesterday on MLK Day. There's ball starting at 11 a.m. It was great. Boom. Bonus code ATOZ Sports. Download the BetMGM app today.
All right, so we're about to hear what Zach's most excited about with Borgonzi, but make sure you hit that like button. Like the show. We'll also drop the 5-star Google review when you have a chance for A to Z Sports. And so, Zach, take it away.
I think that the Tennessee Titans started to shift. Now, changes happened in the middle of their shift, but the Titans organization for the last number of decades, since they moved to Tennessee, has been power football, run down your throats, play good defense, close game, win by a field goal, whatever that represents. For a long, long time, it has not been high octane. They started the shift when they fired Vrabel. They hired an offensive-minded head coach in Brian Callahan, and they started to spend their money. I really took a long, hard look at where they spent their money last year. They spent a lot of it. Offensive line they addressed. They addressed that through free agency and draft picks. They traded away to get more experience, whether it was Snead in the corner and defensively. But I think Calvin Ridley was a big move of a hopeful shift of what Mike Borgonzi can continue to evolve this franchise, and that is speed. This franchise needs to get faster. They've got to pick the right quarterback. Everybody says that. Every franchise in disarray will say, we got to get the right quarterback. So that goes unsaid.
Mm-hmm.
They need fast weapons. They need to be able to complement Calvin Ridley, not with a big-bodied bust Traylon Burks. They need a speedster that can run away, take the top off of the defense, be unique, be multiple. I will even say be exotic when it comes to speed. Derrick Henry is not a part of the franchise anymore. He maintained what he was able to do. But what makes the Ravens and made the Ravens such a threat was the speed that they had. The Chiefs, great example of the speed. What did they do when Tyreek Hill decided to go to Miami, who he's no longer happy? They replaced speed with speed. So that is an exciting part that I think Titans can really take a hold of and say, okay, they can now, they're closer to a new age and a new era of Titans football going into a new stadium. I think it needs to be speed.
Yeah. So I was talking with somebody who knows Borgonzi and has obviously watched the Chiefs and everything after the hire on Friday. And they were telling me, like, you know what the Chiefs have done several times the last few years is they've acquired a player that the entire NFL was like, man, we really can't let Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs get this guy. And then they got that guy. Like Xavier Worthy runs a 4.1 whatever the hell at the combine. And like, woof, man, all you have to do is make sure Xavier Worthy does not go to the Chiefs. And then what happens? They drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. You're like, damn it, they got him again. The same way they signed Hollywood Brown, the same way they keep bringing back McCall Harmon, Rashee Rice, all these fast dudes out there, and even Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It hasn't worked out for other reasons off the field, but when the Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire after the LSU Tigers won the national championship, like, dang it, now they did it again. They got that weapon that's going to make everybody look foolish. How do the Chiefs keep getting these dynamic playmakers for Patrick Mahomes? They keep making smart decisions. And so I do think they're going to get faster, but you can also say the Chiefs keep getting good players up front too. Like, of course, the Chiefs are the one who drafted Trey Smith in the 6th round, and he's been phenomenal at right guard for them. Of course, they're the one who drafted the left-handed center. They was like, left-handed centers are weird. You don't want a left-handed center. Well, Creed Humphrey's been a baller ever since in that same draft as Trey Smith in the 2nd round. So, of course, the Chiefs make the smart decision. So, yeah, getting faster helps your quarterback, and getting bigger and stronger helps your quarterback.
Well, and on top of that, you hope as time goes by, if J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski continue to develop and be what they were drafted to be in the 1st round, now you have the foundation that is also a couple of years ahead that Borgonzi can come in there and help the chess pieces around him, and we're not sitting there watching Tannehill lie on his back, right? Oh. Like that was, and everybody always has offensive line issues, right? I mean, it's a revolving door. People get hurt. I mean, that happens, but worrying about paying a left tackle or replacing a left tackle it's a headache for fans and for franchises. And you hope that left side with Cushenberry, Skoronski, and Latham can be stable. That is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be. And we'll see what the plan is to fix the right side of the O-line. All right, so the Titans, we're still waiting on the Mike Borgonzi press conference timeline. We did get some news yesterday regarding the coaching staff. That is good news, but we're still really kind of unsure what the heck it actually means, because the Titans have hired John Fossil as the new special teams coordinator. This is from Jordan Schultz. Colt Anderson was informed he's out. So there's actually some confliction around this, because we had heard that Colt Anderson was out, and then they hired John Fossil, and now Colt Anderson not completely out. Colt Anderson is not going to be the special teams coordinator. We know that. He could be either demoted to John Fossil's assistant special teams coordinator, or he could be let go as we all originally thought. So John Fossil, the son of Jim Fossil, has been a special teams coordinator in the NFL since 2008, going back to the Oakland Raiders. Apparently his nickname is Bones for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find that out whenever he talks to the press at some point too. But this guy is the opposite of Colt Anderson when it comes to zero experience as a special teams coordinator to a decade and a half of experience as a special teams coordinator in the Dallas Cowboys, where he's coming from, as Mike McCarthy, his contract let go. So Fossil was able to freely go look for other opportunities. The Cowboys were the number 1 team when it comes to kick return yards last season in the NFL, and had really good special teams, very creative when it comes to trick plays and schemes for the special teams unit overall. So this is a big deal. What it means for Colt Anderson, we're still trying to figure that out.
Love this move. It finally, out of all what we just talked about, there's some introspection of, this is self-awareness. I mean, this is your special teams hurt you so bad. It may have gotten better, but it didn't get great. Go replace the guy. This is what you want from your special teams coordinator. If you're a special teams coach, aspiring coach, The only time the public needs to see your ass is you celebrating on the sidelines as they pan to you after a kick return touchdown, a punt return touchdown, or a fumble recovery after somebody's made a big play. Those are the only times that we need to know who the F you are. That's how good special teams coordinators work. Not Colt Anderson in Chicago, not against the Jets, not against the Colts when Stonehouse got broken in half, right?
The Lions.
We don't see you. We don't.
It's like offensive linemen.
Only time we see offensive linemen, 2 times, when they're a hog molly doing a celebration after a touchdown dance after they've declared eligible, or after a holding penalty. So it's pretty simple. There's a lot in between. You got to coach. You got to teach somebody when to do a fair catch and when not to. I mean, there's a lot of things as it evolves, right? Because there's been a lot of changes to the special teams rules. But that's when you want to see bones. That's when. That's the only time. So, but I like the move. It's some self-awareness from the Titans after assessing their season, regardless on if you're friends or not.
For sure. And look, there's a lot of coaching that goes into special teams on technique, because most of these players did not play special teams in high school or college because they were the dude of their team, offensive or defensively. So a lot of techniques have to be coached, and it's hard. From what I've heard, a lot of the players were the reason why they improved in the last third of the season on special teams, was because they signed veteran special teams players who were helping bring the younger guys along who were not technically sound, and they got better. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Colt Anderson and his job security and what happens next. Before we move on, I want to update the poll, Zach. For or against the Titans' new structure of Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi sharing executive roles? 71% say for, 29% say against. Does that surprise you?
No, because 2 things. They're Titans fans. They want the Titans to do better. And what they previously had wasn't working. So, there's some change and some optimism within that. I kind of take a little bit of a different approach of, I am a person and an individual that says what they mean and means what they say. And when I think about what I'm going to say, I make sure that I believe it and I say it. And the Titans haven't really been that. And that's why I struggle. That's the relationship is different. You're just like the whole situation that we talked about, the back and forth. Vrabel is going to help lead, and he's going to get the power, and then all of a sudden he's gone because there was a fallout, right? Then they came out. They said, say what you mean what you say. They said, as they introduced Rand in that great opening introductory pavilion that they walk into, the entrance, the grand entrance, everybody's up top in the ivory towers, and all that's BS. It's fake. It's false, phony. And that is not who I am as a person or a businessman. And that's why I struggle with the Titans.
I think that's fair. I think by the end of the week, we will all have more understanding of what the split roles are. And I think the now 31% that are against it, more will shift towards the 69% that are for it on our poll. And
questions may be answered at this press conference, right? And so we're asking this question prior to really getting to know Mike Borgonzi, right?
We're going off Albert
or
Breer's
Chad Brinker.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. All right. I've got some shade to throw at the college football playoff and what they need to fix, but I doubt they're actually going to fix it. We'll get your shade involved as well. TDOT, they are out there trying to keep our state beautiful by spending millions and millions of dollars every year to clean up trash on the side of our interstates and roadways and highways. And we can all help in to maybe save some of that money and do better for our community. That's by changing our habits, stopping littering ourselves, picking up litter when you see it, and maybe get involved in your community by going to nobodytrashestennessee.com. You can help out your kids that are looking for volunteer experiences and opportunities to jump in and be a part of that community. You can do that. Nobodytrashestennessee.com is where to go find out how to be involved with TDOT's campaign to find the solution to end littering across our state at nobodytrashestennessee.com.
It is esports powered by BetMGM. Talking about BetMGM. We love BetMGM. Download the app today in your Apple or Android app store. They are the sportsbook born in Vegas. Got plenty of opportunity this week and heading into some big games on Sunday to decide who's going to the Super Bowl. So BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, in Tennessee. Get in on the action.
All right, so Zach, I'll let you throw shade here in a second, but my extended shade is with the college football playoff. Look, I think last night's game ended up being closer than what we initially thought it was going to be. It felt like it was about to be a blowout at 31-7, and then eventually a 11-point win by Ohio State with a late dramatic 3rd and 11 conversion, all this, right? But there are two problems with the playoff. I don't have confidence that they're going to address those for next year. It might take a little bit. One is the seeding. We've all been over that. They have to fix the seeding. That is the wrong way to do it, is by giving buys to conference champions. Give the buys to the 4 best, highest ranked teams in the country. I think everybody can understand that is the right way to go. They have to unanimously approve that by all the conferences. So that's not going to happen, because the Big 12 and Boise State, Mountain West, they want an opportunity to buy, and they're not going to get that if they don't have that. So that's not going to happen. Here is my other shade. They've got to schedule this better, because, Zach, I feel like there wasn't really any buzz or excitement going into the game and reacting to the game. And I think the playoff scheduling is a problem. And it's a tough one to fix, because you're right in the middle of the end of the NFL season, the holidays, and the NFL playoffs. It's a tough one to crack. But think about this. Between the semifinals of the college football playoffs and last night's national championship, Zach, there were 10 NFL playoff games. 10 NFL playoff games between those semifinals and championship. That's a lot of NFL storylines. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of coaching firing, coaching hiring, interview movement. And the semifinals were on a Thursday and Friday, going into the wild card weekend of Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the NFL. So we're not talking about something that happened on Friday night, on Monday morning, when we watch 5 NFL games and have one later that night. We're not doing that. And then the championship game is on a Monday night after what is always the best playoff round in the NFL with the divisional round. We're not getting excited about that. It gets lost. There's too much space between. And then you've got the Rose Bowl that is really the controller of my shade, because they are restricting everybody in this with their New Year's Day, 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff slot that is contractually obligated, because you got to play around on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which people are off and not reacting the way they say they would be. They've got to figure something out. I don't have a solution. I hate throwing shade without solutions, but my first thought is the semifinals don't need to be on Thursday, Friday. Move those to like a Monday, Tuesday, or hell, a Tuesday, Wednesday, because then you get to react in the week and separate yourself from the NFL playoff reaction. So that is my shade on the playoff schedule.
Here's the counter to that, which is tough. You have to play them on Thursday and Friday, because then people organize their nights around it.
Yeah. Monday
and Tuesday, you're not getting together. You know who I watched national championship game with last night? My wife
and dog.
Yeah, that's the tough. I will applaud them on an opposite shade that they started the game at 6:30.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. That was great.
So bravo that they don't do the late night start anymore. But the NFL has come in and they've taken all of the good.
Yeah, they're taking Saturdays. They're taking hell, the first weekend of the playoff, there were NFL games, regular season on Saturday. So
they're good games too, right? Because they flexed. They figured out the flex after years after years. So the college football's too late to the game.
Yeah.
The NFL has been they've gone through the trial and errors. And so that I don't have necessarily a solution either.
Yeah,
they've got to refigure it though.
Yes, because the college football playoffs were suffocated by the NFL playoffs, and that's a shame because it was the best college
football for not having good structure and not opening up the playoffs earlier.
I mean,
because it's going to take time. They messed up on the seeding this year. Arizona State and Boise State sure as hell shouldn't have gotten a bye, shouldn't have been a top 4 seed. They need to change that, right? So we know it's going to take time to figure it out, but they're so far behind. They're on lap 2, while the NFL, they've already finished the race about.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, let's get to some more shade from you guys in the chat and Zach. Shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. My shade was the playoff in college, the scheduling surrounding that, which is a tough one. But Zach, do you see any shade in the chat you want to get to? I know I don't want to spoil any of your shade because I'm pretty sure you're locked and loaded with it.
Well, look, I'm kind of sifting through some of there's political shade. We're not. That's just not what we're here for, right? Like, we all have a political opinion. I think we're all entitled to our political opinion if we agree or disagree. But that's why we have sports, is to not talk about that bull. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Eric goes into my first shade, which is my heater going out. The shade is not heater going out. I think it is the fact of as I just moved into a new house. I just bought a new house. And what I've realized is that in every circumstance of buying a house, something is going to break. You could buy a new house. Something's going to break because it wasn't installed correctly. You can buy an old house because it's old. It's wear and tear and the warranties are up and it needs replacing, right? So I'm learning that in real time. And it was tough scene yesterday morning, walking around like I was in Antarctica in my living room.
It's your new home initiation.
Yeah.
And you gotta go through it. I had one and it was a plumbing backup, and that was expensive and tore up my front yard a little bit.
Yeah. And so, I think that, and look, Lucas says shade on power going out at work for 3 hours and being in the cold. Brutal. Right. I was at 24 hours and I mean, it was, thank goodness that it's not like we didn't have to replace a heat pump or any of the other stuff that I didn't really know about that I do now. And it was more of an electrical thing that they came over and fixed. So that's the shade to a positive shade, but that's something that I'm learning. My real shade is a redemption shade, and it goes to the power of this show. It goes to the power of this chat, this community, this group, because as you guys have followed, and we've changed the show over the last couple of weeks because, somebody by the name of Louie decided to say things that weren't true. And out of nowhere, this wasn't a thing. Out of nowhere, Louie gave A to Z Sports a 1-star Google review. They destroy your reputation and spread lies and steal takes. That was Louie's bunk ass take however many weeks ago.
I know exactly when it was. It was when I was in Columbus, Ohio, after watching Ohio State throttle Tennessee.
So what do? Power to the people. Let's actually go through and see how many people actually feel that way. We've been flooded with 5-star reviews. Our Google rating, I mean, it's awesome. And you know what? I read every single comment that goes in there because they're like, man, real OG from Nebraska. Been watching the show for forever. Go Titans. Found these guys a couple of years ago, was listening to them on the radio, like whatever it is. Go to them for my source reporting for whatever. And it's not all Titans fans, which is also beautiful of the growth of our company. So power to the people. And you know what? Google took notice. So shade, this is a triple Big Mac shade, because shade on Louis for trying to pull that BS. But you know what? Google and the power of big tech, which we all have our opinions on, said Dikembe Mutombo, because they came in and they said a review. I didn't do this. We did not report. Didn't do any of that stuff. A review has been removed from your business profile. Bye-bye, Louis, man. Louis, destroy reputation, lies, whatever. We have removed this review from your business profile because it appears to violate our policies. Now, you can go through and see whatever the policies are, but you know what the policy is? Lies, bold-faced lies from Louis, 007 Louis. So a little Dikembe to you. No, my friend. The 5 stars, the good beats evil every time. Luke Skywalker over Darth Vader. So power to the A to Z community that did that on its own accord. I didn't report anything. We're not doing that. And I told you guys that when I saw it. I go, I'm not reporting this.
Yeah.
We need to flood it with positivity. But just like every bad guy, there's a new player that comes into the fold. And this new player is even worse because he's Voldemort. He's not showing his true colors or his face. I saw this, another 1-star review. Well, let's take a gander on why ibuprofen. That's what your new name is, because you need some ibuprofen after we get done with you, we being the community. Just don't want Lou feeling lonely. So he didn't actually do what is asked to do, is review our company, our channel, the work that we do, what we try to provide. No. Ibuprofen decided to take a bunch of pills and go 1 star instead of actually truly how he felt, just so Lou wouldn't be lonely.
No.
So IB 5-star review, the Louis special. We're coming and we fight fire with fire. We don't stand down. So continue to give reviews, tell your buddies, tell your friends. This is shade on ibuprofen coming in here trying to be, Shane Gillis, trying to be funny, and he ain't funny like Shane Gillis is funny. So
now I be lonely. Now, Lou, man, I be lonely. 1 is the loneliest number because there's only one 1-star review. But Zach, I do have an update. As of 3 days ago, IB's review, I just looked this up. I'm looking at it right now. 3 days ago, IB's review is now 5 stars.
Oh, he flipped.
I think it was and this is 3 days ago. We hadn't brought this up at all. I think IB came to his senses and didn't want to be lonely.
All right. Well, look, I'll take a screenshot. We will revisit this next Monday.
Because there are now a total of 62 5-star reviews.
And like I said, you can review our business how you feel, but you have to support it with valuable information. When I talk to the manager at restaurants or my previous deadbeat HOA president that is no longer living in the community because his ass got grassed,
he's still alive.
I had a valid complaint. You have to have a valid complaint because we want to hear that. We want to get better. So continue to flood with the Louis 5-star specials, the IB Lonelies. That ain't going to work. So that's my shade.
American Toff says IB equals MB. Curious minds want to know.
See, you guys figure this out over the next week. We'll readdress it next Monday. You guys on the streets.
IBIR? I don't know.
See, we got Sherlock Holmes on the case.
Yes. So, yeah, there we go. So 62 5-star reviews because Lou Man is no longer trolling and IB is no longer lonely. All right, guys. that is it for us for this morning. Buck Rising live tonight for actually Tuesday, right? Sam is live tonight on A to Z Sports Primetime. And we will continue to keep you guys updated on the potential of the Mike Borgonzi press conference. We've also got something, Zach, you said earlier in the show, YouTube notifications, Facebook notifications locked and loaded. You better have that bell on. You better have your notifications on. Something might be coming up. But make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. We're almost to 20,000 YouTube subscribers. We're getting closer, and 5-star Google reviews if you like it. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.